Hello. Welcome to another edition of the Giants Huddle podcast, brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the New York Football Giants. John Schmeelk with you and one of our buddies, Paul Schwartz, who covers the Giants from the New York Post, the senior reporter in the Giants beat right now. Paul, how are you?
Senior. Hopefully I don't have a couple of senior moments while we do this. No, senior is usually sign of respect.
Yes, it is a sign of respect, absolutely.
Okay.
I have great respect for Paul Schwartz.
Okay, good. Thank you. Okay.
Otherwise, I wouldn't have asked you on.
Yeah, I know. I think about 6 people canceled. Right?
3, actually.
Yeah,
but that's
3.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Do you feel like Bill Murray right now? Do you understand the reference?
Groundhog Day? No? Is that?
Yeah,
is that
that's where I was going.
no, I don't, because...
All right, good. Because I don't either. But that's something that people have said to me. Tell me why.
You mean the way this season has gone?
Just in terms of sitting here with 8 games to go.
Yes, but I didn't see it for this season.
Right, of course not.
If you would have told me this was last year, I would say, yeah, it's a first-year head coach. They're going to have growing pains. It's going to be a rough year, before they get this operation, up and running.
It's funny. I just said that to Paul on Big Blue Kickoff on Wednesday that this would have been a lot easier to accept if it happened last year than this year because of what the expectations were heading into the season.
Yeah, I mean, look, Brian Daboll's the reigning NFL Coach of the Year, so you don't expect a team to win 9 games and maybe win 2 or 3. Without catastrophic things happening. There have been some catastrophic things happening, but Daniel Jones is now out now for the rest of the season, right? And we know he missed 3 games with a neck injury, but and even with all the injuries, there's been more bad football and bad performances and maybe some bad decision making and bad luck and
bad luck,
things,
mm-hmm.
Those things. But so I'm not going to say, sometimes. Your quarterback goes down in, like the Jets case or like when Vinny Testaverde at some point, goes down in week 1. It's like, okay, now we have to reshuffle everything. That did not happen with this team. It's been bad from week 1, obviously. We're going to, the Giants are going to play the Cowboys this week. And they started this whole ball rolling down the hill with that 40-0 loss, which, it was 40-0, and then it was 20-0 the next week. So it was 60-0 to start the season, right? And at that point,
28-0, right, against Arizona. Wasn't it 28-0 in that game before the Giants came back? Am I wrong about that?
No, I think wasn't it 20-0 at halftime, and then Giants scored, and then they scored.
I think you're right about that. Yes, correct.
So I know the Giants were outscored 60-0 in the first 6 quarters. Okay?
Not ideal.
And at that point, you're thinking, or I'm thinking, holy smokes, is this just a terrible team? And then they have that great comeback. Okay, order's restored. They're 1-1. We know everything, did not go well since then. So, yeah, I don't think it's Groundhog Day because I thought the Giants could be a better team in 2023 and not have as good a record. Easily.
Here.
A couple of bounces of the ball. Look, Randy Bullock is now on the Giants, right? What was the field goal? 46, 47 yards in last year's season opener?
Yeah.
Kickers make that 85% of the time. So the Giants had this great comeback, and Brian Daboll says, we're going for 2, we're going for the win. And then they give up just enough yards for a makeable field goal. If he makes that in Tennessee, the Giants lose, and who the heck knows how the season's going to go. So, it's a lot of arbitrary things going on, but all those close wins became some close losses this year, but also a lot of blowout losses too.
It's funny. You think back to the Titans game and just compare it to the Bills game this year, right? Where you have one play to make a 2-point conversion, you make it, the opposing kicker misses the field goal, you win the game. Against the Bills this year, you have 2 opportunities inside the 5-yard line. You fell on both, and your kicker misses an easier field goal from 35 yards out, right? And then you end up, actually, that was the Jets game where miss. So that's actually 2 games you can fold into that one thing. He misses the 35-yard field goal in that game, and it just shows you that the things that were going right last year in critical situations, heck, go back to the Jacksonville game where they're tackling the guy at the 1-yard line, right? Washington, Terry McLaurin has that illegal formation penalty at the end of the game. Baltimore, Lamar Jackson gets a first down conversion, but they get called for, or they're going to convert a 3rd and 1, they get called for a false start, right? All these little things that went wrong right last year for the Giants just went wrong this year, combined with all the injuries, a really tough schedule to start the season. And it all kind of started with that blocked field goal in week 1, right? And everything was looking great until that blocked field goal, and then all of a sudden it was like, wow, now absolutely nothing is going right the rest of the way.
The Giants are going to go up 3-0 to start the season, right? Instead, they're losing 7-3 with a blocked field goal.
Losing 7-0, right?
No, I'm sorry, 7-0.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a 10-point swing that takes your left tackle out for the next 7 games. And did Graham Gano get hurt on that play?
It seems to be a mystery, but I would not rule that out.
So he was an ineffective kicker after that. So you take out, you can make a case, and I wouldn't be. I can make the case, and you would probably not win the argument if I said that the 2 best players on the team going into this year are Andrew Thomas and Graham Gano.
Most consistent down to now. I mean, you would put Dexter Lawrence in that mix, but fine, 2 out of the 3, let's say.
Yeah. I mean, as far as they do their jobs better than anyone else. I mean, Graham Gano was a tremendous kicker.
No, that's fine. I don't disagree.
Okay, so right, I mean, and no disrespect to Dexter or anybody else.
Yes.
And on one play and a 10-point swing, they lost those 2 players. But look, I mean, it's not all. The Giants played on the margins last year as well, as you chronicle. They just rose above those margins in more times than not. So I don't think anyone looked at the Giants. When we went into this year, no one looked at the Giants and said, "I'm picking them to win the division." I don't think anyone picked them and said, "I'm picking them to finish in second place." People did not believe the Giants were as good as their, make the playoffs and win a playoff game, which is fine.
Heck, we spent 20 minutes on our preseason roundtable talking about how much they've closed the gap with Philly and Dallas. Right, that was the whole basis of the conversation.
But I still think most people thought there was a gap. But
correct. For sure.
Now the gap is, it's widened considerably, and you have quarterback issues. Look, it's been a terrible turn of events, and it's not Groundhog Day because last year was the interruption of this badness, and it's just look, it's going to be a long 8 games coming. There's no question about it. It's going to be a long 8 games starting Sunday at AT&T Stadium, which will probably not be pleasant.
And I think that's when people have asked me that question, which is why I posed it to you. I think the feeling some people are getting is that this is going to be similar to the Jake Fromm and Mike Glennon experience in the final 6 games of 21.
I'm not going to sit here and say no. The thing is, Tommy DeVito has been here.
Yep.
He's been here in the spring. He's been here in the summer. Fromm and Glennon were.
Glennon was, right?
Glennon was.
Yeah, Glennon was the backup. Mm-hmm.
I quite frankly think Tommy DeVito was more capable of guiding an NFL offense right now than Mike Glennon was.
No, he might be. I don't disagree with that.
And Fromm was, overmatched and,
Yep.
and a terrific college player, and had just gotten here. But look, it's going to be very difficult. And it's and look, the Giants. The interesting thing is, if I would ask you, and I don't know if you would what you would say, what you wouldn't, but if Daniel Jones does not get hurt last week, does that game go completely down the dumps like it did? And you could say no. I think they would have stabilized. Saquon was running well, but the Giants did not look good in Daniel's quarterback. His first quarterback, he looked rusty.
Yep.
He overthrew Jalen Hyatt a couple of times.
Yep.
But
and the defense, frankly, wasn't playing particularly well either.
Not playing well. So I'm not
yes.
going to sit here and say, well, Daniel's in that game, they win that game. I mean, I don't believe that.
I think they have a better chance.
They definitely have a better chance.
But is it for sure? No.
No. So a lot of things have gone wrong, and they get a guy back now. Evan Neal comes back, and now he's out again. Who knows when we'll see him again? It did not. From what Brian Dable said today, it does not sound good.
He said week to week, and usually the Giants like to leave the door open in all circumstances to not give the advantage to the team. So for them to say he's pretty much definitely out this week.
Oh, he's out this week. There's no question.
Correct.
To me,
correct.
when this coach says week to week, it's a month. Okay.
That might be IR.
It might
could be.
It could be. Yeah.
I'm not saying it's going to be. I don't know anything, but
and look, Evan Neal after the game. I spoke to him after the game, and he said, "Yep, it was the other ankle," and he said it was really weird. I planted in this. He did not sound optimistic. He said he got hurt again.
Right.
It wasn't like a tweak. He said I got hurt again. So, it's one step up, 2 steps back. 2 steps back. It's rough stuff.
How do you think they'll handle that? Do you think you're going to have Tyree Phillips, just one guy in a right tackle, or will they try to move Pugh out, then slide Galinsky back in? How do you think they'll handle that?
Oh, I think you just put Tyree Phillips in there.
That's what I would do, too.
I mean, I would. Now, I would question why Glowinski was bench last week.
He's been playing really well, right?
I would question that. This coaching staff seems to that signed him last year and started every game seems to go out of their way to find ways to put him on the bench. After the season opener against Dallas, which was so dismal. I get it, but I thought he rebounded very well, and it's kind of an underappreciated, maybe underreported story of how a veteran got benched. That's really rough. And then came back in because they needed him and has played well. And
by the way, at both guard spots, right and left.
Yes, which he was not accustomed to doing. But no, I don't. You don't need to double jump when you can just do one jump, and that's you just put. And Tyree Phillips, quite frankly, has been okay when he's filled in at right tackle.
Totally agree.
You do that, and then you can decide on Glowinski at Bredesen at right guard if you want. But that's a coaching thing.
You're ready for a change. Payday comes early with Citizens, so go to that retreat. New You moves to the country. Now you're raising goats and launching a lifestyle brand. Are you ready for all that life brings?
The Huddle is brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the Giants. From game day to every day, Citizens is made ready for Giants fans with insights, guidance, and solutions. Learn more at citizensbank.com. Paul Schwartz joining us, giving us insights, guidance, and solutions here for the New York Football Giants. If I told you, Paul, before the season started, knowing what the schedule was, that in the first 9 games of the year, they would have been without Saquon Barkley for about half of that. Daniel Jones for two-thirds of that.
Andrew Thomas for none of it.
None of it.
Right.
Evan Neal for whatever, 3 games without him. What do you think the record would have been?
It would be better than this, but it wouldn't be 500.
You think it would be much better than 2-7, knowing all those guys were out? Now, you want to talk about point differential and magnitude of losses? We can have that conversation. But
yes, they had a hard schedule. Yes, I didn't know what Seattle would be. I knew they would be an okay team.
Right.
I didn't know what the Jets would be. I thought the Jets would have Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, I get it. But look, 2-7 is 2-7 no matter how you get there.
Of course,
it just is. I'm not going to go say, okay, well, bing, 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 because when these guys were healthy, this was you can put together. Not a lot of tape on the really good stuff that you've seen this year. There's not a lot. Now, they had a really good 3-game defensive sequence.
Yep.
They did.
Yep.
They did.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that the Bills were struggling on offense in that stretch, that's fine.
That still counts.
You kept them struggling.
Yep.
So that's an important thing.
Saquon's run the ball pretty well, I think, right?
This last game, put it this way. If that's an honest game and Daniel doesn't get hurt, I think Saquon goes for $150.
At least,
because
he
was running well. And see, the shame of it was, and it's one thing, I wasn't selling it, but at 2-6, they're going to play the Raiders, right? Okay, that's not very exciting, other than going to Las Vegas, seeing a new stadium. Now you have the Raiders firing everybody, and we all know Antonio Pierce, so that adds a different wrinkle.
Oh, I said it on our shows that the Raiders team became much more dangerous after they fired everybody than before. Absolutely.
Yes, but it's still a guy who's never been a head coach, putting in a rookie quarterback. You can play that off for a quarter, and then you have to say, look, it's an interim coach and a rookie quarterback and a team that was struggling, and you're going in. And I thought to myself, you know what? And I actually wrote that this is like almost a do-over. The team is 2-6. They're not really going anywhere. Daniel Jones is back. Okay, Andrew Thomas is back. Evan Neal at the time was back. Darren Waller was not back, but Saquon Barkley was really in gear. So I said, I'm interested to see what this offense is going to look like now. Let Daniel shake off a little rust, which he clearly had.
You almost got a new beginning in the middle of your year.
I think you did with the pressure off to. We have to win this game to make the playoffs, and not that the pressure is ever off, but I was looking forward to it. And after one quarter, it was all gone, and it was just more the same. So that was certainly unfortunate.
So I'm not sure if we ever got to the bottom of the last question, because I think I interrupted you like an idiot. But so what's your big picture thoughts now? Kind of path. What's next? How do they approach the off season? Have you even gotten there yet?
Well, look. The cliche of it, we go game to game, we go day to day. Look, I have to go story to story.
And so do I. I have an hour show every day that I have to do. It's hard.
And there are 8 more of these games left. It's not 2 or 3. There's 8. So I'm not.
You can't ignore the games. The games matter.
Well, and it's not just the games. It's the lead up. It's the practices. It's everything. If they told me, look, the Giants are 2-7, so just check in on Sundays and write the games. Okay, you still have to do the practices and the injury reports and anything. Look, it's not that's just the mechanics of our jobs. That's all there is to it. But as far as big picture, look, they traded away Leonard Williams, right? So they know they'll have an extra second round pick.
Good return for him, by the way.
Very good, because I didn't think they'd get a second round.
Neither
pick
did I.
Now look there'll be a million personnel decisions they have to make. Quarterback is the quarterback. That is always the biggest thing. And my take is that if this goes the way it might go and the Giants win 3 games this year or 4 games this year and they're in the top 5 in the draft next year, a quarterback must be considered because a quarterback has to be considered. That's all. If the Giants look at this quarterback class. Now, look.
And the problem, by the way, is that you might have to be in the top 2. Depending on who gets those top 2 picks to get one of those top 2 guys that everyone likes.
I suppose you might have to be in the top 2, but you know what? When is the last time a draft only had 2 quarterbacks?
No, that's true.
You know what I'm saying? And remember the Darnold year and the year they said this is the year of the quarterback. Darnold and
Lamar
Rosen
Jackson
and
went to the last of the round, right?
Oh, there's a million of them, and the years that you don't think it's a good quarterback year, there's 2 or 3 of them, and there's one guy in the second round, there's one guy picked 28th. So, look, if the Giants will do all their scouting, and look, Daniel should be ready to come back at the start of next season. I mean, give or take. Given the normal flow of an ACL, 9 months.
And Brian Daboll, by the way, did say on Wednesday that there was no other damage besides the ACL.
That's what he said, yeah, and that's what he said. And look, he hasn't been, there's been no surgery yet, but, this is cookie cutter. The one thing is, then you can go talk to Saquon and Wan'Dale Robinson and Justin Pugh.
Everyone has a different experience,
and
right?
Marcus McKeithen and Darian Beavers. I mean, there's Pert. These guys have all had ACLs.
That's a lot of guys.
It's a lot of guys who had ACLs, right? A lot of guys. It's a club. You can have their ACL club, and they can talk about their milestones, right? But
a club nobody wants to be a part of,
correct,
by the way.
Correct.
Just for the record.
But look, these guys come back. These guys come back from it. His career's not over. So you can't go into the year if you're the Giants. I'm sure they won't, saying, look, Daniel will be back. We're good. We'll either re-sign Tyrod or we'll get somebody else, and we're good. If you have the opportunity to get a great prospect, then you get him, and then you know what? If it happens that Daniel comes back and looks good, and this rookie comes in and looks good, then you have a problem of 2 good quarterbacks,
which is not a bad problem.
Which is not a problem. So. Look, they didn't think when you give a guy a 4-year, $160 million contract, you don't think you're going to be on this cycle again, on this bicycle again. Things happen, and sometimes you have to do it. Now, Daniel has to be on the team because you can't financially part ways with him. And the Giants don't part ways with guys that are hurt anyway like this. So, look, it complicates things. If you have the 2nd or 3rd or 4th pick, it'd be much better to take, by the way, Marvin Harrison or
he's pretty good.
The best offensive lineman, or trade down to 7 and get an extra 2nd round pick. There's so many things this team needs, and the thought process was, well, quarterback, we're okay for a few years, or 3 years, and that's just not the case anymore. Not to saying that Daniel is not the quarterback, but
or that they have to draft a quarterback, but now
here's
the options
they
are
have
open.
to consider it. Okay, that's what I would say. Have to. I'm not going to say if they don't draft a quarterback, they're insane. But you have to consider it. Where 2 months ago, that would not have been something you would have considered.
You love turf. You're good at it. So you start a turf biz. Business grows, your savings grow. Become the most celebrated name in turf. Are you ready for all that life brings?
Giant fans love a winner. It's why they love Citizens. Named a 2022 Best Bank by The Banker. As the official bank of the Giants and sponsor of the Huddle, Citizens is made ready for fans of Big Blue. Learn more at citizensbank.com. All right, I guess we should talk about the Cowboys game for a second. Poor Tommy DeVito. If there's one defense that I would not want a rookie to face in his first NFL start, maybe it's the Browns, maybe the 49ers, but the Cowboys are certainly in the top 3. The defense is going to have to play their rear ends off because this Cowboys defense, as you saw in Week 1, Paul, can be a bear.
Yeah, look, I don't think I would have wanted him to come and face the Jets in his first start.
No, that too. No, Jets too. That's fair.
Really good.
That's fair.
I think DeVito will it will help him that he's taking all the first team reps. He is the quarterback. He's not coming into a game. He's not, okay, let's go, next man in, let's go.
They could design a game plan specifically for him.
Yeah. Now look, any game plan is going to be to get the ball out of his hand quickly.
Yes.
Which everybody knows, and we've seen that throughout the league when these young quarterbacks come in, and we're going to run the ball. We're going to have a jet sweep,
wide receiver screen,
get the ball out, Saquon, and the Cowboys are going to know it, and the Cowboys are good. I would think they're going to basically say, "We're going to come at you, and if you want to throw it over our heads, throw it over our heads." You know what I mean? You prove to us, Mr. DeVito, that you can get the ball over our heads. You have the time to do that. And will they throw Jalen Hyatt a deep ball? If they have the time, yes, but. This has been a bad matchup up front for the Giants, for a while
for
here.
A few years.
And what were there? 7 sacks and teen number of hurries in the first game or something?
I have to check that.
I mean, it was really bad. Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence and that crew. But you know what? That's the breaks. You know what I mean? You know what?
7 sacks and 12 quarterback hits.
12 quarterback hits.
Mm-hmm.
Look, Tommy DeVito can't go play. Let's see, he played at Don Bosco, right? So you can't say, well, it would be nice if his first game was against Paramus. I don't know who's their big rival.
Sure, why not?
Paramus.
Bergen Catholic, maybe? Maybe Bergen Catholic. Yeah. I'm not big on the high school football.
No
scene.
offense to any of those fine programs, but this is what you get. You know what I mean? Okay, so if it was a week later and he'd be playing the Commanders, that'd be better. But it's a bad situation and it's rough and you want to earn some money. You be Brian Dable and Mike Kafka, and you said they're going to design things that he does well. And this is no knock against Tommy DeVito, but the things he does well are going to be quick stuff, and everyone's going to know it's coming. And I would just tell Saquon Barkley to get a good night's sleep, the night before, because
Cowboys' run defense is not the best, by the way. They're kind of in the middle of the league.
And I understand, but you know what?
But they're going to stack the box.
They're going to stack the box,
correct.
and look, in an even game, you can do that. It's probably not going to be an even game for very long, and if you get down by a lot, you know what? I don't know if they're going to take a lot of extreme measures in this game, the Giants, because I don't think they want to get Tommy DeVito, hurt.
Paul, see, now I'm thrilled that the 18 people I tried to get on canceled before I had them.
Because I was such a ray of sunshine in saying how everything is going to be fine here.
Hey, right? Pearson, am I right or wrong? He's a lot chipper than most of our callers have been over the past 3 days. Yeah. And probably Casillas for that matter. Paul, good stuff, my friend.
I've been called a lot of things. Chipper is not one of them.
Paul Schwartz covers the Giants at the New York Post. And tell the folks about your Giants podcast, too, by the way.
Oh, yes. 2 former Giants. One of them is the only kicker in NFL history to kick 2 game-winning field goals in overtime to lead his team to the Super Bowl.
That'll be Lawrence Tynes, by the way.
Lawrence Tynes. Yes. Brandon London is on the podcast, Blue Rush. You can get it.
Oh, Brandon London's on that now, too. I didn't know that.
Brandon London is,
nice.
Is often on it, yes. Who has a Super Bowl ring from
2007.
Yep. Yes. So, yes, I do not have any rings. I have a wedding ring, and I just celebrated my 33rd anniversary.
Oh, congratulations.
So, yes.
You've made it. You fooled it for 33 years, huh?
This is the kind of ring you got to earn, man.
No, that's true.
This is not a practice squad ring. Yes, Blue Rush podcast, and we're struggling too, but it's the perspective of 2 former players is a really good way to do this with me. We take you inside what these guys are thinking.
Lawrence Tynes must have been heaven with all the kicker talk over the last few weeks. It's like LT's like, finally, I get to flex my place kicker muscles here and talk some kickers.
You know what, though? But the kicker talk hasn't been great the last few weeks. That's the problem.
Well, that's also true.
He's pumping up Graham Gano when he's making those 53-yarders. And the last few weeks, it has not been as pleasant for Lawrence to break down these kicks.
Oh, you would think Bullock or Cade York this week?
Oh, that's the question, isn't it? Yeah, that's
well, you brought up kickers, so I had to ask.
That's the question. I think. Well, it was Bullock last week. Why wouldn't it be? Did Bullock get older in the last week?
Maybe Cade York beats him out of practice this week. I don't know. That's what I'm asking you.
I'm firmly in the Bullock camp this week.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Bullock man.
Bullock,
Paul Schwartz, right here on the Giants Huddle podcast, brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the Giants. We'll see you next time, everybody.